In this thought-provoking video, we explore the fascinating claims surrounding the American moon landings and the alleged staging of these historic events. Is it possible that the iconic moon landings, which have long been celebrated as one of humanity's greatest accomplishments, were actually an elaborate hoax? Join us as we delve into various conspiracy theories that question the authenticity of these moon missions. Throughout history, there have been numerous skeptics who believe that the moon landings were nothing more than an elaborate production, engineered by government agencies for their own hidden agendas. But what evidence do they offer? We present compelling arguments, controversial testimonies, and mind-boggling claims that challenge the official narrative. Prepare to have your perspective on history reshaped. Conspiracy theory number 1. Skeptics argue that the lighting and shadows on the moon's surface are all wrong, suggesting a studio setup. They point to the waving flag, claiming that in the vacuum of space, it should remain motionless. And what about the absence of stars in the lunar sky? NASA released a vast amount of photographic and video footage showing the astronauts on the moon's surface, including iconic images of astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin planting the American flag. These images and videos have been analyzed and validated by experts in photography and videography. The lack of atmosphere readily explains the moon's unusual brightness, while the flag's apparent wavering was caused by the fabric's manipulation during installation. As for the missing stars, the cameras used had a limited exposure range, making them unable to capture the faint light of the stars. Conspiracy theory number 2. The astronauts could not have passed through the Van Allen radiation belts surrounding Earth without suffering lethal doses of radiation. The Van Allen belts, while indeed radioactive, were traversed quickly in a specially shielded spacecraft to minimize exposure. Conspiracy theory number 3. A photo from the Apollo 16 mission shows a rock with what appears to be the letter C written on it, indicating this is a prop mark, indicating that the rock is fake. Photograph NASA. The C on the rock has been extensively analyzed and attributed to a photographic anomaly. In total, the Apollo missions brought back approximately 842 pounds, 382 kilograms of lunar rocks, core samples, pebbles, sand, and dust from the lunar surface. Scientists have extensively studied these moon samples worldwide and found distinct chemical compositions and isotopic ratios not found on Earth, confirming their lunar origin. These rocks contain unique features not found on Earth, providing undeniable evidence of a moon landing. Conspiracy theory number 3. The lunar module's powerful engine, they argue, should have created a large impact crater beneath the lunar module. But photos show no such crater. The lack of an impact crater is due to the low thrust of the lunar module's engine and the lunar surface's composition. Conspiracy theory number 4. Some photos from the moon have crosshairs that appear to be behind objects, which some claim suggests photo manipulation or editing. The crosshair anomalies were extensively examined by photographic experts and explained by overexposure and the nature of photographic film processing. And if that does not convince you, here is further evidence of a lunar landing. The success of the Apollo missions was acknowledged by countries worldwide, including the Soviet Union, which was in a space race with the United States at the time. Their acknowledgement serves as strong independent verification. Thousands of individuals were involved in the Apollo missions, including engineers, scientists, technicians, and astronauts. Their testimonies and the extensive documentation of the mission planning and execution provide further evidence. Independent tracking stations in countries like Australia and Spain, which were part of the global network supporting Apollo missions, received and relayed communications, confirming the mission's progress and the astronauts' presence on the moon. The telemetry data, which includes detailed records of the spacecraft's position, velocity, and other mission-critical information, matches the reported activities and timeline of the moon landings. Numerous scientific papers have been published in peer-reviewed journals analyzing various aspects of the Apollo moon missions, all supporting the fact that these missions successfully landed humans on the moon and returned them safely to Earth. The astronauts left several scientific experiments on the moon, like the lunar laser-ranging retroreflectors, which are still used to measure the distance between the Earth and the moon with high precision. Advanced satellite technology has enabled detailed observation of the Apollo landing sites decades after the missions. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, launched in 2009, has been particularly instrumental in this regard. The LRO's high-resolution cameras have captured images showing the Apollo lunar module descent stages sitting on the moon's surface. as well as tracks of the lunar rovers and paths made by the astronauts as they moved around the landing sites. These images closely match the locations and activities documented during the missions. For instance, the images show lunar rover tracks that correspond with the paths logged in the mission transcripts and the known locations of various scientific experiments left on the lunar surface. This recent satellite imagery corroborates the historical record of the Apollo missions, providing contemporary visual confirmation of the landings and activities carried out by the astronauts on the moon. Other countries have provided satellite imagery and visual evidence supporting the American moon landings. This evidence further strengthens the confirmation of the NASA Apollo missions. Japan's lunar orbiter, Selene, also known as Kaguya, was launched in 2007. It captured high-definition images of the moon's surface. These images included views of the Apollo landing sites, providing independent confirmation of the missions. The Selene spacecraft's terrain camera photographed the areas where Apollo missions 15, 16, and 17 landed, showing traces of the astronauts' activities. China's lunar missions, particularly the Chang'e series, have provided detailed lunar surface data, while the primary focus of these missions has been on areas not visited by the Apollo missions. The extensive mapping and analysis of the lunar surface by these missions indirectly support the extensive lunar science brought back by the Apollo astronauts. India's first lunar mission, Chandrayaan-1, launched in 2008, helped in mapping the moon's surface and, in the process, provided additional indirect support for the Apollo landings. The mission's primary objective was to map the lunar surface for mineral composition and water ice presence. But the comprehensive data it gathered also supports the geological findings from the Apollo missions. These contributions from international space agencies complement the evidence provided by NASA and serve as independent verification of the Apollo moon landings. The consistency of data across different missions by various countries, utilizing advanced and varied technologies, reinforces the factual basis of the Apollo moon landings. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to Time Pilgrimage.